Hello, I am Bentham and welcome to Factorio 0.15. The new update has arrived and it's a big one. There's a lot of stuff to get through and let's just launch straight into it. I don't want to waste any time whatsoever. There's a whole bunch of features, but there are a couple of really big ones that you can probably see already. I'm stood in the middle of a bunch of stuff that we've never seen before. This is the nuclear stuff. This is where we're going to start. Let's go to the beginning of the process and work our way through. I'm just going to run through all the major things that have happened with this update, all the cool stuff that we're going to get to play with as things are going ahead. I mean, immediately you can notice that everything looks a bit weird. It's all grey, and the reason for that is the change to the night vision goggles. They now don't make everything green. They make everything a sort of more monochrome colour, unless it's lit up, in which case it looks fine. And also it means the nuclear stuff over there glows a nice green. But we'll start at the beginning. This here, let's switch on. Oh, it's already on. I'm out of sulfuric acid. I've got a bit here. So this is the mining system for the uranium ore here. We've already worked through quite a bit of it. A couple of these miners are shut down. Well, actually, they're sort of all shut down now because it's a very weird process used to do this. But this new ore has appeared on all maps. It's a really cool thing that it's actually appeared on old maps of Factorio, so you can actually just start up your old saves, and they will now have uranium deposits all over them, which is fantastic. You can just immediately start switching your factories over to nuclear power. And this is how you mine them. The miners look a little bit weird, as you can see. They've got this weird set of, like, tanks and pipes and all sorts around, and this weird frame to it. It looks a little bit like an electric furnace, actually. They're just normal miners. If I take... Let me see, where have I got a miner? Here it is. It looks like the normal one, and then as soon as you have it in range of some of the uranium, it switches to this new kind of miner, which is it's the same thing. The only difference is that in order to mine uranium, you need sulfuric acid, which is why I've got these pipes coming in here. So got them running in from a big factory I've got over there, and then you can just connect them up to one of these, and then they've got output and inputs all around the side, so that you can just have them all connect up to each other. So you just bring them in at the end of the column, and they'll connect up all the way along. At the moment, they're all dead because I've burned stupid amounts of sulfuric acid, mining insane amounts of the uranium. So for the moment, these are dead. Luckily, I've already built up a decent supply, but yeah, it just mines uranium ore. It's just an item called uranium ore. Works the same as any other ore, but of course the processing methods are a little bit different. So we'll follow this belt down to the part where we start processing it. Let's switch this back on. Well, for a moment, actually, let's have a look at the new buildings here. These are the centrifuges. These are used for most of the processes involved in refining nuclear stuff. Uranium, that one. They don't look so much like centrifuges, more just like weird pump things, but whatever, it's fine. I wish there was some ore that was coming along so you could see them in action. They glow a nice green. It was happening earlier. I think the factory's just died. It's keeled over. It was only a matter of time. I put it to quite a lot of work to get all this stuff in place and to get a working nuclear reactor, but the factory wasn't ready for it. It used a lot of materials. So these are the centrifuges, and there is a recipe that you use to refine the uranium, and it is not as simple as just sticking them in and out comes the final product, and then you carry on and you refine that into something that powers the actual reactors. The way this works is it creates two different kinds of uranium, two different isotopes. There's a light green one and a dark green one. The light green one is uranium-235, the dark green is uranium-238, and the ratios are weird. As you can see, at the moment it says that the products are 0.0 for the green one and 0.9 for the... Well, I said green one, there's two green ones, and 0.9 for the dark green one, which you can basically consider to be the junk one, the crappier one. This is the cool one here. This is the one we want. But as you can see, not much of it is produced. I set up a whole bunch of these and set them off running to see what would happen and see what the ratios were. And before I got a single piece of uranium-235, I had 250 pieces of uranium-238. It's a bit ridiculous, and those are not the ratios you want. So there's this interesting feature of you've got to sort of rebalance it using some crafting recipes and stuff that have been put in. So you can see here, I've got insane amounts of the crappy uranium that has been building up because I've got too much of it. I need to find a way to turn it into the good stuff or turn it into other things. For the moment, it's just sat there because it's quite an undertaking to get a properly working system going. So we'll carry on down. We'll look over at this bit next. So this is how you make the uranium fuel cells. So the way this works is you need 10 iron plates, easy enough. one of the uranium-235s. Seems easy, but not really, because it takes a lot of refining to get a single one of those, and a lot of mining as well, of course, to run them all through. At the end of the day, I don't know what the ratios are. It's something like between 100 and 200 uranium-238s per single uranium-235. So as you can see, this process using one of the light one and 19 of the dark one, you're going to end up with a bunch of the 238 left over that you got to find something to do with. Luckily, it only needs one of the good one to make 10 of the fuel cells, so it does go quite a long way. In fact, it goes a really long way. Let's take a moment to look at a piece of coal. So we've got some coal in our inventory here. The fuel value of a piece of coal is 8 megajoules. Of course, you need loads of these to get any sort of power system working. Any individual one on its own cannot do very much. And it's only when you have a whole, like, multiple hundreds, if not thousands of them, that you can get a small factory operational. A single one of these uranium fuel cells has a fuel value of 8 gigajoules. It has 1,000 times the power. And if you count the fact that you get 10 of these from a single one of the uranium-235s, one of those pieces of ore contains 80 gigajoules. It is worth 10,000 coal. That's pretty crazy. I'm not sure exactly how it'll translate into actual power, because there's different efficiencies between different buildings and stuff like that, but I mean, it's going to be something in the region of 10,000 times the power you'd get from a piece of coal. So that's pretty cool. So of course you get a bunch of this extra crappy uranium, and you never have enough of the good uranium, but there is something that you can do about that. At the moment I've got a bunch of the good stuff on here. That's maybe because I cheated, possibly. I needed to set it up. I just wanted to set up a system so I could show you how it all works. At the moment it's actually shut down because we've got nothing being produced. Something must have gone wrong in the oil system. There's just nothing happening anymore. I think, do I have... Well, I have a bunch of this stuff here, so I can just dump this onto the belt. And that'll work a bit. There we go. So we've got this thing down here. This is another centrifuge. This is doing a different recipe, however. This is the Kovarex enrichment process. Kovarex being the name of the head developer of Factorio, so that's quite a cool thing. This is a really weird one. Take a moment to look at this recipe. It is unlike anything we've ever seen before. In order for this to work, you need 40 uranium-235. That is insane. That will take a long time and stupid amounts of ore to gather. That's crazy. Like, you're going to need something between 40 and 80 stacks of the useless uranium just to be able to get enough to do this process once. And then also for this, you need 5 of the crappier one. What you produce is 41 uranium-235 and 2 uranium-238. So that's weird. You get 1 extra uranium from putting 40 in, and you lose 3 of the worst one, and that's gonna make some weird builds happen. That, like... The weird thing is that all you need to do, really, is just cycle 40 uranium-235 through the system, and then every time it cycles, which takes 50 seconds, one comes out. 50 seconds is not actually a bad rate for getting extra uranium, but you got to be careful you don't, like, you got to set up the right sort of system so that you don't lose the 40 that you built up. That needs to stay in some sort of closed loop where it just keeps going back into the input section instead of being sent off anywhere else. Otherwise, it'll all shut down. So there's going to be some really interesting stuff with that. It's going to be old circuit-based or some really fancy belt stuff. It's going to be really interesting. At the moment, this is working just because the usage of the fuel cells is so crazy low that these aren't being taken up quick enough. I mean, now everything's shut down because these are broken. I'm just going to flip this around, and that's going to get things running again. In fact, it's going to break the system pretty quickly. I'll just let it build up for a while and then stop it again. So yeah, the only reason I managed to get this working is because I just cheated in a bunch of it. And as soon as you have the 40, your production rate goes up massively, because now you're getting 1 every 50 seconds, which is a lot more than this was able to produce, pretty much. So that's crazy. The setup time is terrible. Once you're going, efficiency isn't too bad. You start to, like... Once you've got it going, you're just turning 3 of the crappy uranium into the good one, which is a decent ratio. So that's going to be... It's going to be amazing to see what sort of crazy stuff people do with that to make it work, and I want to see what happens when you can get a system where it's managing to use up the full supply of this stuff. And see how much you can get for that. So at the moment I've just got that one running, and it's just generating one every now and then, which is enough because I've not got the system fully set up. So we've done this bit here, we've produced the fuel cell, so now we come over here to the reactor. This is the reactor. It's just this big ball with windows in it that are glowing green. Probably I'm going to stand on this side and not the other side. I might die eventually. So this is the reactor, and what happens is these go into it. You can see they're there. When they get used up, an empty cell appears here. And what that can do is you got to take it out, otherwise it'll build up and the thing will shut down. So I've just got it coming out into a belt over here. And then it comes back to here, and you can turn one of these used up fuel cells into 3 uranium-238. I should probably shut that down there, that's fine. May have broken that slightly. It'll be fine, it doesn't matter, everything's built up, no problem. Factory's dead anyway, there's no sulfuric acid. I don't know what's happened, it was working before. In fact, I could go check. I'll do that in a minute though. So yeah, we can turn one of these into 3 of those, so it's like, again, once you're going, it's quite efficient. You really get a lot of, paid back again that you put in, but getting it started is the difficult part. So now we have our operational nuclear reactor, which is never good. Its current temperature is 1000 degrees. These operate at 10 times the temperature that a normal steam power system would use, though I think that's now been upped to like 165 degrees or something like that. I think that's been boosted to change the ratios and stuff with normal steam engines. So we can get up to 1000 degrees, and then what it does is produce heat. Just heat. It doesn't produce any sort of liquid, it's just heat. As you can see by these fire symbols here, there are a whole bunch of output points all over the thing, and they go into these, which are the heat exchangers. These are 2x3 structures. That's a 5x5, by the way. The heat exchangers, the way they work is that they require water to come in at the sides and heat to come in at the back, and then out of the front, they produce steam, which is a new fluid? I don't know if it counts. I mean, it is just heated water, really, so it's technically the same thing, but it has its own icon. It can have a variable temperature. At the moment, this is at 500 degrees. And by the way, the ratio for these is you want 4 heat exchangers for each nuclear reactor, as I understand. That was definitely the system before. I don't know if it's changed since the original sort of discussion on the Factorio Friday Facts was done about how this thing works. But there's this very curious thing about it. I'm just going to go over here for a second. We've got 2 reactors over here. They have both died. I think I've got some fuel cells handy, so I'll stick those in. They'll get running. They immediately produce the empty fuel cell, and then they've just got the power built up there. That'll take a while to run down. So what's happened now is that while I moused over these, you can see it says neighbor bonus 100%. If I go back over to this one, it says 0%. This one's 100, and the reason is that there are 2 connected to each other. Basically, each one you connect will... well, not double, because it'll add a whole bunch of extra heat production to each one. I think the way it works is that the fuel usage is the same, but it just produces more heat, which is really cool, so you can get much more efficient systems. So with having 2 connected to each other, each one's getting a bonus of 100%, so they're both running at double speed. So this is doing 4 times the power production of this one, if it was actually connected to a properly working system. You can keep going with this. If I have another one here, then this one will now be running at 200% more, so 300% total. And I can carry on. Basically, the best system you can possibly do is to have a column of them. 2 wide, and then as long as you like. And what will happen is there'll be 3 on each side of all the middle ones, 2 on the ends, but it's the best you can do. And that means that every single reactor, apart from the end ones, will be running at 400% capacity. That is the most you can do, because they have to be properly adjacent. You can't have them offset or anything, so you can't have one connected to this pipe here and one through this pipe here. It has to be directly on the side. So 3 is the most you can get while still being able to actually output your... output your heat and input your materials. Your fuel cells, and also to remove the spent cells. So 400% is the best you can get. The thing is, you need more heat exchangers if you do that. You have to quadruple the number in that case. So at the moment, these would each be able to support 8 of them. And of course, you've extended it some more to go to 12. And if you had the proper column where each one is adjacent to 3 more, then you would have the ability to put 16 heat exchangers connected to each one. That's going to be quite difficult to do, though. It'll be interesting to see what sort of builds you come up with. It's going to be quite, it's going to be long for a start. It's going to be a massive system. It'll be really cool to see one operational where you just get the maximum efficiency out of each reactor, and you have just 16 of the heat exchangers stretching out into the distance before they can connect up to anything else. But that sort of thing, I imagine, is doable, so it'll be really cool to see a maximum capacity nuclear reactor system. At the moment, they don't explode, so doing something like that will not cause horrific destruction for everyone and destroy your base. There are no massive nuclear explosions at the moment, at least from the reactors themselves. So we'll go back to over here. We've got the heat exchangers. They output the steam. The steam then goes into steam turbines. Now, steam is also the thing that goes into steam engines now, but there's a difference between the engines and the turbines in what capacity they have. So these can deal with a temperature of 500 degrees, which I think is what these produce. So it goes down from 1,000 to 500 when it turns into the steam. And then these can deal with steam of that temperature, and they will generate power. At the moment, they're not, because solar panels take precedence over steam engines and nuclear power and everything else. But when night falls and the solar panels shut down, this will kick in. I think it was on a little bit earlier on, and it'll start actually using the stuff. Ignore that for now, it's a completely irrelevant thing. So that is it, I guess. We don't know that I'm not sure what the ratio is at the moment for the heat exchangers to the steam turbines. I'm sure someone will find that out very soon if they haven't already. I mean, the game's been out for, well, the update's been out for a couple of hours now. It's actually been out long enough that they've already done a patch. The Factorio devs are always amazing when it comes to very quickly patching any major bugs. And so we're already in 0.15.1 because there were some issues with the updaters and a couple of things like that. There's already been like 5 different bugs fixed in the space of a couple of hours, so that's cool. So there we go. The steam turbines are the best thing to use for the nuclear reactors because they can deal with the temperature that the steam can reach, whereas if you use steam engines, it won't work properly because they can only deal with, I think it's now 165 degrees, so you'll lose 2/3 of the power, I think, basically, if you use engines. I'm not sure if there's a way of making it better, whether having a really long engine column will work in some way. So yes, a little sort of side thing, because it's related to this in a way. There's been a change to how boilers work. These are boilers. They are now 2x3. They're just like heat exchangers, but they don't have to use the heat input. Instead, you just have the water go in, and then you input a fuel, such as solid fuel here, and it will work just the same as a boiler, but it's more powerful. I forget the exact ratio of power between the old ones and the new ones, but what I do know is that the ratio is now 1 boiler to 2 steam engines, I think. I think that's what it is. Which makes it really easy to build systems now. You don't have to worry about different ratios and argue about all that. You just... And also the arrangement has changed as well. If you not noticed, the water now runs along the sides like this, and then the steam comes out here, which is weird. So you now have the boilers running along, and then the steam engines come off the side. So steam engine arrays are going to completely change now. The builds are going to have to be entirely rewritten for the first time ever, I think, pretty much. It's been the same for a long time, and this is a bit of a jump. So yeah. You got your sort of 2 alternative systems. Ignoring the nuclear reactor, these are just 2 systems of different scales. This just uses a fuel, like a solid fuel as an input, and this uses heat from a reactor. And to balance it, they have the different capacities. So there we go. You're going to have to change your power systems one way or another. And that's pretty cool. Right, what shall we move on to next? Let's go on to a couple of other things about the nuclear stuff. So, as well as using it to do power, there are a couple of things that you can craft using the uranium. So I think if we go to weapons, we'll find all the stuff. So we have uranium rounds. They use a bit of the crappier uranium, so piece of cake. We've got loads of those going spare, so it's not too bad. It's just a piercing round magazine plus 1 of those. And the way it changes the damage is, oh wow, I haven't checked these numbers yet. It triples it. That makes them quite formidable. It goes from 8 damage plus 12.8 from bonuses that I've got, I think. I think those are the bonuses that are applying due to science and so on. And then, yeah, this is triple that. So that's really nice. That's going to make using the submachine gun a little bit more useful again, rather than just switching to the shotgun or the flamethrower and then never going back. We also have uranium cannon shells. Again, you just add a bit of the crappier uranium, not too much of a problem. And you also have explosive uranium cannon shells, which is just the explosive cannon shells with the same treatment. The addition to the damage, I think, is not quite so crazy. I think it's double, actually. So that's still pretty nice. Double the damage for both cases. Always nice to have and not too difficult to get hold of once you've got uranium technology going. And then there's this. The atomic bomb. 20 processing units, 10 explosives, and 30 of the enriched uranium. I mean, I don't know what the terminology is because I'm not a chemist. I'm gonna maybe assume that the good one is enriched and the bad one is depleted. Is that how that works? I have no idea. Let's just stick to saying 235, or the good one. So yeah, this is expensive. This takes a lot to be able to afford. 30 of those is going to take a very long time to produce, even if you've got the system going that refines the bad ones. It's like, this is not a cheap undertaking. I mean, I've cheated 10 of them, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, they're pretty destructive. The stats there, if you compare them to, say, the explosive one. Here's a couple of interesting things about that. We'll test that in just a second. I think that's all the stuff that you can actually craft using uranium. By the way, all the icons have changed. It's crazy. Everything's been updated to new graphics. There's just been a complete overhaul of a whole bunch of different things. We've now got higher graphics settings, so you can see, like, you might not be able to tell just from looking at it, but if you do a side-by-side comparison, belts are now, I think they're twice the resolution that they were before. Assemblers are as well. Makes everything look really sort of crisp and a lot less sort of pixelated, as it sometimes can be. And they're just slowly working through all of the structures in the entire game and updating them to be a higher resolution. So that's pretty cool. And any new structures that are coming in are just starting off straight away as a higher resolution as well, I do believe. Let's go test some nuclear missiles and such. So down here, we have a couple of tanks, 4 of them. Basically, one with each different kind of tank shell, just so we can see what all of them do. So there's your basic one. Fire that. It does a little bit of damage, knocks some trees down. Trees aren't the best way of demonstrating this. It'd be better to use biter bases, but that's a little bit more volatile, and I might get murdered. So we'll leave that for another time. Then we have the explosive cannon shells. A little bit more, cuts through the trees the same, and then when it arrives, it blows up a nice little group there. Then we have the uranium ones. I'll probably zoom out for this a little bit. Goes a bit further. I sort of missed there. Let's go. Yeah, it cuts through some more trees. When it comes to biters, it's a little bit more clear. And then we have the... these are the explosive uranium ones. Bit of a bigger explosion. It's, you know, it's a reasonable progression. It's not a huge thing. It's not like these are nukes that are going to annihilate anything you fight. But there's a little bit of a visible difference going on. It's definitely nice to be able to upgrade, and it's cheap to do so, so it's not too bad. Oh, and also one other thing with the tanks is they now have a flamethrower attachment as well, which is really cool. And flamethrowers have changed as well. This is a crap one. The range is absolutely terrible. Have they changed how flamethrowers work? I know they were changing. Why is nothing setting on fire? Oh. Is this not the same sort of flamethrower as a normal handheld flamethrower? What's going on here? Let me just switch to this. Yeah, that's interesting. The flamethrower in the tank is different from the handheld one. Very weird. Also, there's a thing now of if you set a patch of ground on fire repeatedly, it will now burn for longer and do more damage than otherwise, which is nice for attacking bases. They've also balanced them in other ways, so you can't cheat quite so much. I think there's now a minimum range a bit. I can't set myself on fire. This is as close as I can get to me, which in a way is good, because I won't set myself on fire. It also means I can't run into the middle of a base and burn all the biters that are attacking me, because they'll be a little bit too close. So you've got to be slightly more careful with that. There's been a whole bunch of rebalancing with the combat to make things that no one uses more viable and stuff like that. So the discharge defense has been massively boosted. Personal laser defense has been boosted. A whole bunch of other stuff as well. The list just keeps going on. The changelog for this update is 350 lines long, which I think is a record. I think it was 300 back in 0.13, so they've one-upped themselves once again with even more cool stuff. But I imagine that there's a particular thing that you want to see me do here. Let's fire a nuke. Let me show you what this does. We're going to need to zoom out for this. I'm going to target a nice long way away from myself. And fire. Yeah. That's pretty destructive. That's a lot of death. I've tested it on biters. It insta-kills them all. I think the explosion doesn't weaken as it goes out. I think if you're on the very edge, you might be lucky and just get hit by one of the little explosions and not another, because it's a whole bunch of tiny explosions radiating out that makes it work. But yeah, I used this on a couple of biter bases, no survivors. I know behemoth biters have been weakened, which might be part of it. They were a little bit too crazy relative to big biters, so they were scaled back a little bit. But yeah, it instantly kills them. Also, you will not survive a nuclear blast. I've tested it. I tried putting as many level 2 shields into my parachute as I possibly could. it was not enough. It still killed me straight away. So never be inside the radius of a nuke, or you will die. There is no avoiding it unless you have some sort of mod that gives you more powerful shields. It's pretty crazy. You can't even listen to it, because if you're close enough to hear it, you're already dead. But it does make quite the crazy noise of just a million tiny explosions going on. So that's pretty cool. That's going to really help with dealing with biter bases. You can fire it from outside their aggro range as well. I mean, you can fire it from miles outside, and then the edge of the explosion will take them out. So it's crazy. Of course, the cost is insane, so you're not going to be able to use them very often. Okay, what should we get to next? Let's have a look over here. So we have a train here. Let's switch off the info mode for a second so you can see it a little bit better. We have the new fluid wagon. Finally, it has arrived, and we can now load and unload liquids directly into a wagon. Interestingly enough, in this update, we've also gained the ability to turn any fluid into a barreled form, which now seems a bit pointless when you can just transport it in a fluid. I mean, you can still transport it on belts and stuff, so there's still a decent reason to do it. So now do that with everything, apart from steam. I don't know if there's a way to transport steam. Well, actually, I'm sort of aware. So what I've done here is I've got a couple of different pumps to sort of demonstrate how it works. You can load into the tanks from any of these, but there are only 3 entry points into the thing. So I've got 2 here that are leading into the same one. Only one of them can connect. The other one can't. So don't do that because there's no reason as far as I can tell. If we go into the fluid wagon, you can see it's got this weird UI where they are the 3 sections are disconnected. That's because they actually are disconnected. You can transport 3 different liquids in entirely separate containers using these, which is brilliant. Makes it really useful for just like transporting loads of different kinds around the place if you need to for whatever reason, or transporting some to one base and some to another without one base taking all of it or whatever. So that's awesome. And all we need to do here is there's 2 switches at the bottom. If you flick this one, connects these 2 up, and then they become a one joined larger tank. So we're pumping some water into there. And as you can see, I've put some steam into the other one just to see if it could be done. I had some steam come out the back of the turbines. Well, they're running now. They produce crazy amounts of steam as well. You can barely see the things. I think it's a little bit more than these do, which makes sense. It's proportionally more power stuff. Yeah, these ones now, the temperature is 165, so it is a little bit different. So if I bring this back on, for some reason it shows it as being water, even though it is, if you look inside, steam. 500 degree steam, and I could just transport this in a train, which I think is hilarious. So, what we'll do is we'll switch that off again, because what I want to show you is the cool animations we get when these pumps connect up. So if I just select the engine, send it to... Well, actually, it made them swap there, which was weird. I didn't want to do that, though. I need to move it. Actually, that's what I need to do. Let's hop into this one. I like how there's passenger space in this. I mean, it was weird that there was passenger space in those, I suppose, but that's quite funny. Yeah, you can see they just... step back again, and if you park back up... Well, I parked in the wrong spot, so it's not worked. There you go. They just fold out and connect in, which is quite cool. And that's when you place them next to a track. If you don't, then they don't have the whole system for connecting up like that. So that's going to make oil-based systems a lot easier to deal with. You're not going to have to barrel things up before you transport them, so it's going to take out a middleman, sort out issues with... having to have the right number of barrels and things like that, and those sort of systems messing up. So what shall we get to next? Oh, I did forget to mention what I actually wrote the thing in here. So these are heat pipes. They pipe heat. This is for when you can't connect the heat exchangers directly up to one of the outputs on here, and you have to have them in a line or something. So you just get you just get a load of these heat pipes, and you can run them along in a line so that you can fit multiple reactors together without too much of a problem. And they are really good for writing stuff with. I'm going to be writing so much stuff with this now. I might even use these just instead of concrete in future, because it makes proper lines. It's not just blocks, it's actual lines, so that's pretty nice. Always good to have. The 5 looks a bit like an S, but we'll work on that sort of thing. We could make it a larger font or whatever. Okay, so what shall we get to next? Let's go over to some more sort of liquid-based stuff. We'll switch this back on. So we have a couple of refineries here. Hop into this one. You can see there are now 3 different recipes rather than just the normal 2 for oil stuff. And this one is coal liquefaction. And it's pretty awesome. So it takes 10 coal, 25 heavy oil, and 50 water, which is quite a lot, but you can manage the throughput probably fairly okay. And it produces 35 heavy oil, 15 light oil, and 20 petroleum gas. And this is another interesting system like the one with the nuclear power, that it actually has something loop in it. So like the nuclear power has that you have to have those 40 of the uranium-235 constantly looping around for it to work properly. Over here, you need the... well, let's go to this one that's working. Well, it's not actually working, but all you need to do is loop 25 heavy oil around. So just put in some sort of system that uses pumps and wires to make it so that there's always enough heavy oil for the system to work. And then all you need to do is add coal and also water, which is renewable, and you will just generate, per operation, 10 heavy oil, 15 light oil, and 20 petroleum gas. This means you don't need oil anymore. You don't need to actually build pump jacks and pipe oil in. If you have enough coal, you can just make more of the components. Just have the 25 heavy oil to start with, loop it around one of these refineries over and over, and you'll just generate oil. This is amazing. I'm so happy, because setting up oil outposts and having the trains deliver them and all that awkward stuff has always been annoying to me, and it's nice to just, if I have enough coal around, I can just forget that option. I don't need to do it anymore. I can just have a almost self-sufficient system. All you need to do is add coal. That's literally it. And I usually have a bunch of coal left over anyway, because I switched to solar power, though in this case, I'm probably switching to nuclear power, because it's so much cooler. So that's amazing. They've sort of given us two solutions at once there to how the oil works, that we can, at the same time, not need to bring in oil via train, but also we can now easily bring in oil via train. So that's quite fun. And I'm so excited to actually just go and play this and do some episodes on it. It's going to be amazing. I want to set up a properly working one, like, array of nuclear reactors that fully powers the base. As it is, this one reactor here is doing quite a bit. If we go to this, you can see this is like, actually, the ratios are going wrong because the factory's a bit dead. I've killed it in some way or other that I'm sure I'll work out shortly. But yeah, this is what the reactor's producing. This is the close to the maximum that my solar panels can do. I think it's more like up here somewhere, but it's like, it's doing so much already. It's doing, like, it's taking up half of the slack that the accumulators were previously having to deal with. And when I was looking at it before things started to run down, I had an eyeball of it, and I worked out that 3 steam turbines working as they are, I mean, I don't know if you can fit more on how much of a reactor system we've got here or not, but I'm thinking it's 3 just because that was what it was in the Factorio Friday facts that showed off how the nuclear power works. It could be entirely wrong. We'll have to see. But yeah, 3 of these turbines, if you just added a couple, like, I think it's 2 more reactors would make enough power for this to work, because as well as, like, so 2 more would bring you to there, but there'd be more bonuses for adjacency. You'd end up somewhere up here in terms of power if you added enough turbines to deal with the extra power produced by the adjacency bonuses. So that's not much. My factory can probably, like, this system can maybe deal with that. I mean, it can't at the moment because there's no sulfuric acid, but we'll work that out. I mean, now we can make renewable oil, so sure, that'll work fine. So yeah, you can easily switch to nuclear and just never have to worry about power again. Just occasionally add a new refinery, a new reactor if you really need it, and you'll be good. I mean, the pollution may not be great. I've not really checked what the pollution situation is. Is there pollution? I don't even know. At a glance, I'm not seeing any. Whereas these do show it, right? Or no, they don't. Oh, it's the boilers that show the pollution. And I'm not seeing any pollution on the heat exchangers at a glance, or on the reactor. Do these just not produce pollution? Oh, this is so awesome. Also, by the way, there seems to be a bit of a bug at the moment. I'm not sure what's going on, but basically the alt mode isn't letting me see my pollution situation. I'm not sure if it's a change to a key, or whether I'm being a derp, or whether it's going to be fixed shortly, and for the moment it's broken. But now, seeing as we're in the map, let's have a look at some of the cool stuff that's happened with the map. I mean, if these radars hadn't switched off right now, it would be nice, because they're sort of important to what I was going to show you. See, you can see all the little dots of the uranium around, and if I mouse over them, it tells you how much is in them. It tells you how much you have in crude oil deposits. Any ore patch, you can now mouse over it, it'll tell you what the contents are. which is so cool. And it also allows you to very quickly identify them, because sometimes when the deposits are really tiny, it's hard to tell what color they are. And so you just need to mouse over them, and you'll see what it is. That is awesome. You can see how much you've used up of your current things. Oh, we've lost a radar outpost. Well, that is a shame. But yeah, there's been a bunch of new stuff with the map. Already you can see some of the colours are different. There's a little bit more detail. You can tell a little bit more about what's happening in the factory based on looking at it. It's not just that everything is yellow or whatever. You can see that the solar panels are black and the belts are yellow and the assemblers and other machines are blue. Here's the thing. If I zoom in, it goes to a proper view. I can actually see the factory. There's a slight sort of graininess effect to it. It was more so in 0.15.0. They've already reduced it a bit because people were a bit annoyed. But this is awesome. I can just very rapidly look around my factory and just see what any problems are. Let's find out why the sulfuric acid is dead. There is sulfur, so it's got to be something else. Oh, the trains have stopped. What has happened? Why have the trains stopped? Ah, this one is out of fuel. Well, we can go fix that then. Let's go. So it's really cool. You can just very quickly shoot around your base and look at... Is this still exploding? Ah, it's the same place. They're just slowly working through it. I'll leave them to it. It's fine. I'll go murder them later with a nuke, and everything will be okay. Make way down through the factory. You can see these are modules. They've completely changed the art for them now. Not sure if, like... I mean, they look nice, but it's a little bit difficult to tell how many lights are on at a glance. When they're just in, like, your inventory, I can very easily, if I'm not paying attention, just pick the wrong one and not realize. So that's, slightly annoying, but I'll probably get used to it, so that's fine. Also, they've changed the capacities for a couple of things. I think it's the refinery and the chemical plant. So if we go over here, got some chemical plants here. Yep, they now have 3 module slots, as do refineries. So that's really cool. You can help get higher efficiency with less need for a load of modules, level 2s and so on. Right, so I need to go over to here and get this train running again. Once we have that going, we'll have uranium operational again, and everything will be fine. I think I know what's wrong with this particular train. It's... Oh, there's a bit of ore turned up here. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the new look of the ore. There's so many things. So, like, there's a couple of big things in this update, but there's also a bunch of tiny things as well that's easy to forget. And there's even stuff that's not on the change list because it's been around so long for the developers that they've forgotten that it's new stuff. And things like that. Right, so let's hopefully fix things. I think that train is now going to be able to be fueled because I think I'd messed something up earlier that I've now fixed anyway. Alright, back up to the stuff over here. Well, let's take a little bit of a detour over to this deposit I have over here because as you can see, they have changed how the ore looks. It's a little bit different now. They've tried to make it less sort of blocky. Previously, it was very easy to tell where a square was. They've tried to make it a little bit more sort of seamless, so it looks a bit more normal. You can see the edges are very sort of ragged, and it's a lot harder to tell where the edges are. If you mouse over the squares, you can start to work it out. But it now actually goes sort of outside of its squares just a tiny bit to make it look a little bit more natural, which is nice. So that's the copper. Here's the iron. And of course, the uranium is new anyway, but that's also following the same sort of system where it looks a little bit different. Okay, I don't think I've really finished with the map stuff yet. There's a bunch of buttons down here, so if we do this, we can see our logistics networks. That's fantastic. This will show us the electric network and make your brain explode from seeing how it doesn't line up at all. I'm sorry for those who are seeing this and are having horrible nightmares right now about this system. It's fine, it works, shush, doesn't matter. It's a very old factory. I was young and foolish when I set some of this power system up. Turret coverage? This is so cool. You can just now, you can see where your defensive lines are. You can make sure that nothing's been broken through, that the biters will have to engage turrets to get through to your factory and stuff like that. And I can see that apparently those turrets have been blown up. Didn't know about that, so that's cool. That's awesome. You can switch them all on at once as well if you want to go a bit crazy. We can also see pollution. Oh, there we go. Right, that explains it. I hadn't actually seen these buttons yet, so I didn't realize it's now a special button. I'm just going to leave that on. I like that being on. Oh, it doesn't show it on the minimap, though. I liked it showing on the minimap. I mean, it was annoying sometimes because you couldn't see a thing. But I want to be able to see where my pollution is so I know that, well, I know whether or not I'm safe. Oh, they've got quite a bit far in. There could be a problem. Yeah, as you can see, the pollution's not so great. But over here, not much because this isn't producing any. So that's pretty nice. Alright, we'll turn it off for the moment so we can see things better. We can see... Oh, we can turn on and off the train stop name, so that's nice. And then we also... Oh, we could turn off the player names. Very nice. There's also, I think, some sort of way of marking stuff. I don't know how it works. I forgot to check it before I started. There's a way of marking location. You literally just click. You just click on a point on the map and you can give it a name. This is test and its icon is inserter, and now there's that there. And you can just use this to mark the different parts of your factory to very quickly show you where anything is. So it's awesome if you're looking for something. You're like, oh, I can't remember where I'm producing modules or something. You can just label it, and then next time you're looking for modules, you'll be able to see exactly where it is. That's pretty nice. So many cool just sort of quality of life features that have been brought in to just make playing easier and more fun and less clunky in places. We'll leave that off for now. It probably looks better for the viewers if I don't have the pollution thing switched on. A couple new buttons up at the top here. Let's go back out of the map. Oh, I should probably show you as well what happens when you get to the edge. So here we can see the map as normal, as if we were a player, but super zoomed out. But if we carry on over to here, you see it switches back to the map, because we've gone beyond the range of our radars. So that is pretty crazy. So yeah, you can see anything within radar range. As soon as you get out of that, you can't see it anymore. Just becomes the normal sort of thing. Still got the grainy effect though, which is weird. And once you zoom out, that goes away. So yeah, the map's now super useful to work on. And also, of course, I forgot to show you even that. Or did I show you? I may have just forgotten that it's a new thing, but I can just click on trains and stuff like that. I can access... can I access these assemblers? I'm not allowed to do these because I'm out of range for touching them. Can I do this if I... Where am I at the moment? I'm here. Like, yeah, I can access the reactor because I'm stood next to it there, but I can access it from the map. That's cool. But yeah, I can just access trains from here so that I can give them commands. Oh, there's no radar coverage over here. Surely work for me there. Wait, there should be. Why is that dead? It's because it's nighttime. Oh, it's nighttime. Fair enough. So that's another one. Let's see what else we've got on our list. Let's have a look. I've got some stuff written down so I can make sure not to forget stuff. I was going to go through these buttons here. So we now have the blueprint library. This is very cool. Basically, you can now send blueprints between saves. So if we click on this, you can see at the moment there's nothing in it, so we'll hop out of it. I've got my blueprint book here that I've been using so far in this particular save. If I click that, it gets exported to the library. I keep the book as well. But now if I go to here, you can see it's in the library for blueprints. I think in just this save, but then I can copy it over to shared blueprints, and this will now appear in all my games, which is brilliant. Also, you can make blueprints, deconstruction planners, and blueprint books from the moment you start the game. So you can immediately just grab some blueprints, plonk them down, and you can use them just as a guide for you to build on. Which is always nice, because sometimes you forget how to do a particular setup. You can place a blueprint down, and then you can remember where everything is, and then just build it manually, and that'll work until you get to the point where you have bots. In fact, this will probably help a little bit with speedruns, because you'll be able to just very quickly save your particular setups and just be able to plonk the blueprints down at the start of the game and then just be able to build to those and remember what the ratios and stuff are. So I'm sure speedrunners will be able to enjoy using those to get even crazier times than under 2 hours that they've been getting so far. And then there's also this button here. This is tutorials. You can now access tutorials while you're in the game. Currently there's a couple of rail ones in place that you can do. Not a look at them yet, but I'm sure they're really good because they're made by the developers and they always know what they're talking about. Everything else I think here is pretty much the same. I mean, the bonuses thing is a little bit more useful now because there are even more bonuses to deal with. There's now train braking force. That is now an upgrade you can have. Let's have a look at the research. Let's get to that. So if we go to the research menu, I've researched everything apart from the infinite researches, which are a new feature. I mean, straight away you may be able to notice that, well, now it shows what science packs are required at the bottom here, but it also shows that there are new ones. In fact, let's go back to the crafting menu so I can show you what the different science packs are. There are now 7 different kinds, not just 4, and only 2 of them are the same as they used to be. So we've got the red ones, copper plate and an iron gear, as normal. We've got the green ones, an inserter and a transport belt, and then we get to science pack 3s. These have changed. It is now an advanced circuit, an engine unit, and an assembling machine. So you're going to have to rejig your factories quite a bit to make that work. And then we have the military science pack using a piercing round, a grenade, and a gun turret. And the production science pack, which you actually produce... Oh, you produce 2 of these when you do them. So you get 2 production science packs using a pump jack, an electric engine, and an electric furnace. So that's going to make some really interesting setups where, like, your current science setup, scrap it. Everything from blue science onwards, it's gone. You got to redo it. It's completely changed. And then we have the high-tech science pack, where you go really crazy. a battery, 3 processing units, a speed module, and 30 copper cable to make 2 of those. You may remember that I said there were 7. That is because there is one more, and you do not craft it. You acquire it. Let's go down and get one. Gotta go over to my factory for this. And it's a very cool way of doing it, and it means that there's a lot more to do sort of after the normal end of the game. So we've got a rocket over here. It's got a satellite in it ready. Everything's ready for it to go. Also, there's now a box you can tick so that it will auto-launch as soon as it is ready and loaded with a satellite. So I can just do that, and it'll launch it straight away. So that will set off, and you'll notice that it has a rocket result inventory now, because we now get things back from the rocket missions, which is quite cool. We'll let this fly off. There it goes. And any second now, we now have 1,000 space science packs. This is how you get them. Every time you launch a rocket, you will acquire another 1,000 of these for the purposes of research. So it now means that you really want to have an automated rocket launching system in order to keep your science running in the late game. So if you want to continue after the usual endpoint of launching your first rocket, you now have a really good reason to, because the science carries on. So those are the 7 different kinds of science packs that are going to keep us very busy for quite a while. So now let's look through what researches we have. Well, first I'll show you how the science packs work. It's really interesting. So you start normally, you have the red ones, and then you start doing the green ones as well, and then you get to the point where you're using the level 3s on top of that. And then you get to this sort of thing. It's happened before. We have red, green, and purple. Of course, the purple ones don't exist anymore. By the way, alien artifacts no longer exist. They have been removed from the game. That's why there are no longer alien science packs. So you don't have to kill biters anymore to progress. So now peaceful mode is a more viable game because you don't have to worry, or just turning the biters off. You can now complete the game without the biters, which is always good, because sometimes you just want to have a game where you're not bothered by them constantly and you can just focus on your factory building. So yeah, these now use the military science packs to go further here, and then you get the military and the level 3s as we carry on. Then we get to one where it's the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, and the, what are these ones? The production science packs. Further on, we then are doing them with the 1, 2s, 3s, and the high-tech ones to get effect transmission, because it's high-tech. And then we start to mix the 2, and then we have a different mix, and it's quite cool, because it's always nice to be able to choose a different path, which you can now sort of do to more of an extent. Previously, you were very much set of, you just have to do, you do red, then green, then blue, and then alien, and that's it. If you want, you can maybe do alien before blue if you want to do some certain military stuff, but that's it. Now, you can actually sort of choose your direction a little bit more. You have to build different science packs to do different areas of tech, and you also, if you can only get to one certain area of tech, you can only do a certain amount of, well, only one certain of, it's getting hard to talk. I've been talking very fast for a very long time. It gets to a point where you need a certain science pack, so it's gonna, it's good that you can sort of choose your direction, and you can go for a military route, or you can go for a production route, or something like that. And so by the end, you start to get to the point where you're using like all 6 of them for like the rocket stuff and the nuke, which by the way is expensive to research. It's going to take you a while. 5,000 of every single kind of science pack. Is that more than the rocket? Yes. Like the nuke is a step up from the rocket in terms of technology. But yeah, once you've got the rocket and you launch it, then you start getting the white science packs, the space science, and then you start doing the infinite research. So all of these are the infinite researches, and these just keep going. They get stupid expensive, but you can just keep researching them if you want to. So mining drill productivity, you can very, very slowly boost that up to crazy amounts. You can eventually like double it and then keep going from there. So you can get a little bit of extra ore from all your mines. Worker robot speed can now just keep going. Rocket damage, cannon shell damage, bullet damage, grenades, shotgun shells, laser turrets, gun turrets, flamethrowers, all their damages can now go on infinitely, as can the follow robot count and the actual damage of the robots. So that's fantastic. So quick run through of what new researches there are. We've got those ones that I've shown you. We've got the nukes. We've got the Covarex enrichment process. Quite a late one. It's going to take a lot of work to do. Of course, you've got the uranium ammo. Oh, that's just a normal one. There's a the braking force thing, this goes up to 7. There's a couple of ones that have got extra steps to them now, so you can go further with them, like a couple of the damage one, the shooting speed ones of you can now go a couple of extra steps. Of course, there's this one now, so the trains can slow down quicker, be a bit more efficient in terms of speed at least. The fluid wagon, of course. A couple of other things as well. There's just bits and bobs here and there. I mean, it's all represented in the stuff that you've seen. So you've got the nuclear power. Why does it keep jumping back up to the top every time I click? Nuclear power, and there's maybe a couple of other nuclear ones as well. Oh yeah, there's the nuclear fuel reprocessing as well. Coal liquefaction as well is a new one. So that's on that. Also, there is now a level 2 personal roboport, which has significantly more capacity, more range, and more power storage, and more charging points. So that is awesome as well. What have we got left? There's still a couple of different things, I think. I'm getting mostly there. Oh, fuels will now affect the acceleration and top speeds of vehicles. There's the crazy amount of new graphical stuff. Usually I would line up all the new icons, but there are too many. There's just so many I've lost track of which ones are new and which ones aren't. I think the sort of the colouring of them has been changed a little bit as well, so they all look slightly different to me. It's going to take a while to get used to all these new icons and stuff. There is one thing that I've forgotten about so far. Let's hop back up to my little demonstration area, where we have a cool little circuit thing that that the programmers of Factorio can have some fun with. This is even more broken now. Hey, we got the system working again, so it's actually operating. Let's just flip that round, and that'll slowly make it work again. So here I have some programmable speakers, a little set of speakers on a pole. You can see I've got a few of them set up. You can program them. I programmed this one with a piano noise. You can also do alarms. You can actually do any alarm, any sort of different noise. You can make them produce those. You can do a drum and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. A bunch of different instruments, so people can have a lot of fun making music with those. I mean, I've not done any yet. I was just going to set up something basic, so all I've done is make it so that it does a scale. So yeah, that's nice. These also have a range. The further away you go, the quieter they go, but you can set them to play globally so that you can hear them wherever they are. You can also get it so they show an alert when they go off. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this to make the system warn you with like proper alarms and everything when any sort of system is breaking. Like if your power's failing, an alarm can go off. If you like some miners have run out, it can go off. There's a bunch of new... You can now switch off miners using circuit conditions. There's a whole bunch of new stuff that's been added to the circuit stuff as well. For all this stuff, you're just going to have to go read the changelog. It just keeps going. Endless extra stuff. What else do we have? A couple of little things. There's now in multiplayer, if you die, you leave a body which slowly decays, so you have a chance to go and grab your materials, which is always fun. A couple of new scenarios. There's a PvP one and a wave defense scenario to use. I think there was one previously, which was the competitive building one, which I've still not tried, actually. I really should do that. But that is, I think, it from my my main list of cool things, and we're already at nearly an hour. It's I thought I went pretty quick with this time, relative to previous update videos, but maybe it's just that there's even more stuff to talk about. I mean, the nuclear power is amazing. I'm going to have so much fun with this. None of my bases will be powered by anything other than nuclear power from now on. Also, I tried to switch the lights off there. It sort of glows a bit green. It's hard to see at the moment. When it's darker, I think it works a bit better. I put too many lights around the place. Okay, there's a couple of balancing things as well. The rate at which resources grow with distance from the center of the map has been increased by 50%. So there's a little bit more of an immediate reward for adventuring a little bit further. Sometimes it's hard to tell that the resources are actually going up at all. A lot of balancing to how oil works. It's now, I think, basically it's been made overall easier to produce oil. You generally get more oil per deposit now, I think. Just from a whole bunch of different balances that change things in one direction or another to make things a little bit nicer. The base amount of oil that you get from any one deposit has now increased. I think it's doubled, so that's always cool, because all my deposits are completely out, and I'm just running them with speed modules to try and mitigate that, because I don't need it now. I've got coal liquefaction. What else do we have? Oh, we've now got some extra logistics slots. We've now got 6 instead of 5 on these, so that's a nice little bonus as well. A little more capacity for robot-based stuff. You no longer need a processing unit to make modular armor or solar panels, so you can get to power suits a little bit sooner. Pumps go 4 times their previous speed. The recipe for plastic bars has been reduced from 30 petroleum to 20. Electric engines require 15 lubricants instead of 20. Electric furnaces require 15 steel instead of 10. The steel requirements for a load of different buildings have been reduced. I think it's all the buildings that are actually used in science packs now, so that makes a fair bit of sense. Some of the crafting times have been sped up as well to make it a little bit easier to set up the science systems. Stuff like that. Stack size changes for a couple of things. The changes to the load of stuff. The steam engines and things as well. Load of combat rebalancing. That's a list that'll take forever to get through. Just to make things a little bit easier. It now makes a lot more sense to use some of the stuff that you never bother with, like mines and rockets. Well, of course, rockets because of nukes and stuff like that. Whole bunch of stuff there. But yeah, there are many things I've missed. Oh, the map generation is another one. They've completely changed the map generation, so you have a bunch more options in terms of how biters spawn, how pollution works, whole bunch of stuff like that, so you can tweak it to make it really easy or insanely hard. Make it so the biters evolve instantly to maximum level or something like that, if you're insane. Whole bunch of things like that. There's also a couple of presets to choose particular types of setup that so that they can be sort of categorized better. So there's now a Death World preset that you can set to have the... so that everyone's got a sort of standardized definition of what a death world is. Also, the original... when they were originally announcing some of this stuff, it sounded like they were going to make it so you could have a more complicated recipe option. I think they've not included it. I tried testing it, and as far as I could tell, no recipes for anything had changed. Maybe I'd missed it, and it was just a small handful of important things like circuits, which I forgot to check. Probably should have checked. But I think that there are no differences in terms of the difficulty of the recipes for any items or any science, as far as I can tell. But there is support in the map generation settings for someone to very easily implement that, so that marathon mode can be made a little bit easier to set up, so you can have a specific option for it in the map settings. I'm under attack. An outpost down there, and I can zoom in and see! I can actually watch them doing their attack until they blow up the radar and we lose it. Which would be quite cool. Oh, we were so close to killing him as well. They almost made it, the poor turrets. And we still see it for a second, because it takes a moment for the signal to disappear. We just watch him wandering about for a bit. And it's gone. There we go. And it leaves him as marked on as being there. Interesting. Right, as we were. That's probably all fine. They'll not get to me in time. What was it? Yes, the map generation settings. So they've not done anything with the difficulties of crafting recipes yet, but they've made it so it's easier for you to be able to specifically choose that if there's a mod that makes it. Maybe in future they'll add it, or maybe they did add it and I didn't notice, or there's a bug and it's not appeared. But I also noticed something interesting about the presets. There were, I think, 5 different ones, and I think 4 of them we had seen previously on a Factorio Friday Facts. But in this update there is one more at the bottom of the list, and it's called Rail World. And the way it works is it makes the deposits really large but really far away, so that it makes sense to use trains. And also, I think, puts the biters onto a sort of semi-peaceful mode, so that they don't recolonize anywhere. They just stay where they are, but I think they're still aggressive. I've got to wonder if that's something to do with my Rail World series. It's a bit of a coincidence, but then calling it a Rail World when it's all about building trains is not that unusual, so maybe that's it's just a coincidence. But that'd be quite cool if I've had some sort of influence there. I think that's it for the stuff I'm going to discuss. We're mostly done with all the major things. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to have fun with. Go start playing, go have fun. By the way, if you don't know how to update, I will link in the description a video which will explain exactly how you go through the updating process. I think I made it for 0.14 or 13, but I think it is still applicable today. It covers how to update it on Steam and also using the Factorio website. So that should help you if you're having any trouble actually seeing all these cool new features. But I think that is where I will call it today, and let's finish it off. I mean, we've got to run into the middle of the base and launch a nuke. Let's do it. Where shall I shoot it? Let's blow up the module production. That's really expensive. We can blow up the rocket as well. Here we go. Launching the nuke. Run away. Oh, it's beautiful. And horrifying. People are going to start using these in multiplayer games soon, and it's going to be devastating. It's going to break friendships. People are going to be murdered. It's going to be horrible. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm going to go play this update now, and I think you probably will too. So with that, I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.